everyone. Thanks for joining. In today's webinar, we're excited to share more about Adonis Intelligence, our flagship product. My name is Dan Young. I'm the head of product here at Adonis, and I'm joined by Connor Anovic, our Senior Customer Success Manager, and Sean Chawla, Director of Enterprise Partnerships here at Adonis. Before we dive in, I want to remind everyone that we'll be sharing a recording of this webinar after the session, and we're happy to answer any questions that arise. With that, let's get into it. I'm going to start with a little overview of what Adonis Intelligence is, and then going to open up a discussion with both Sean and Connor to get insight on what large hospital systems, health systems, provider groups, what we're hearing in the market, and why they need Adonis Intelligence. We're also going to chat with Connor about some potential use cases that we're seeing our customers have success with. In short, Adonis Intelligence is the only platform on the market that sits on top of your billing data and can tell you exactly what's going wrong as it's happening. Whether it's denial-related issues or an uptick in AR caused by claim submission backlog, claim holds, remit issues, payment posting issues, Adonis Intelligence identifies the root cause issues of your problem and presents it to you on a silver platter. Ultimately, that turns into action for our customers because they're able to find the root cause issue and find it timely. They're able to action that with their teams to drive increases in ROI over and above what they're seeing today. There's a couple of features that we're excited about related to the alerting I mentioned, the dashboards and reports, each of which we'll dive into. We'll start with you, Sean. I know you talked to a lot of the largest hospital systems and provider groups in the country. Would love to learn a little bit about the pain points they're seeing and why Adonis Intelligence is a need for them.
Yeah, it's a great question, Dan. With these more sophisticated organizations with internal data analyst teams, internal billing teams, they have a lot of resources to shell out at the problem of RCM, especially the tail end where it comes to AR follow-up. So they don't really need help with the identifying or the dashboarding capabilities that Adonis Intelligence provides. They usually have a Power BI or Tableau tool or a data analyst running through mounds and mounds of data very easily. But it's really the alerting functionality that Intelligence provides that sets our product apart from anything else on the market. Not only showing everything in a concise and precise way, but being able to drill down to the root cause of an issue and allowing a staff member on the RCM team to double and triple click into that issue and get a host of claims associated with that specific denial or AR leakage, anything of that sort. That's where we've seen a lot of enterprise partnerships and enterprise clients be interested in Intelligence over and above what they currently are using.
Yeah, that's something we hear a lot about, the importance of finding out things timely and the root cause issue. There's so many times where we deploy the software and there's been an ongoing issue for 6 months that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars that no one knew about. And that's a very real problem for the organizations that they face. That ties into another important topic, which is return on investment. I'm curious how our customers and prospective customers are thinking about return on investment when it comes to tools like Adonis Intelligence.
Yeah, it's almost in twofold. So the first, return on investment, I should back up. Overall, what we like to anchor our pricing and our fee schedules to is a return on investment. So we're looking to generate a positive return to demonstrate that the platform is working for our enterprise clients. And the first avenue that we look at is an uptick in revenue or an uptick in revenue per claim. So decreasing those leakages, as I had mentioned before, any kind of AR issues, avoidable issues, or unavoidable issues for that matter. If we can start to get better KPIs across the RCM team, our clients will start to enjoy an uptick in revenue or revenue per claim. That's one way we look at ROI. And the other way that we look at ROI is just making teams more efficient. So making these internal billers, because we're providing everything to them on a silver platter as it relates to an issue, allowing them to really focus on the long tail of denials and AR issues so that they can work through those as well. And that's really our second category of ROI, is reducing the magnitude of spend for an RCM team over time. So we're not by any means looking to come in and replace an RCM team. We always speak internally about this being an art and science. We do need manpower, and we do want to augment how teams are working. But we're not looking to replace anybody. We're looking to slow the spend of RCM workforce over time so that they can be better suited through this product versus just throwing more heads at a solution or trying to find a solution in that regard.
Makes complete sense. And you hit on an important point about our customers and prospective customers. They're often growing very quickly. They're acquisitive or opening up new facilities or hospitals. Can you speak to a little bit of the use case that folks are seeing of how Adonis Intelligence plays in line with that growth?
Yeah, I think a great use case for that is Allied Digestive Health. So Allied Digestive Health is a gastroenterology group based here in the Northeast, across 3 states. They're rapidly growing. They're already the 3rd biggest gastro group in the country, and they are very acquisitive in nature. So a lot of their growth has been through M&A. And that actually ties back into that dashboarding and reporting capabilities that we often gloss over. But being able to unify all those different streams of data into a singular dashboard is incredibly useful for these teams. So I know Allied is a Athena shop, so that's their primary system of truth, but they're acquiring targets on ECW, on ModMed, NextGen, all these other systems that they have no line of sight into. And Adonis Intelligence actually bridges those gaps in data and reduces data divides.
Yeah, you hit on a really important point there. The alerting is what identifies the root cause issues and oftentimes generates the outsized ROI for our customers. But the business intelligence functionality we found is incredibly important. There's a management layer that needs to happen of C-suite executives, VPs of RCMs, being able to see trending in analytics, being able to see that cleanly and clearly. And that coupled with the alerting is really a lot of the value that we found our customers drive. Connor, would love to chat with you now a little bit about some real life case studies and user stories from our customers. Of course, when we contract with a large hospital system provider group, there's a quick onboarding process to implement the platform and to gather data. Can you talk us through at a high level what services we provide with regards to making that as seamless as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Shortly after signing with a new group, the customer success team quickly meets with them after syncing internally to understand what the motivation from the provider side was to working with Adonis, what goals they hope to achieve. And then we focus very much, once we develop that understanding, on making onboarding and deployment of Adonis technology as easy and seamless as possible for our customers. The way we're doing that is by identifying the few very consequential technical requirements that need to be in place and put in motion as quickly as possible, because there are data sources and integrations that sometimes require third-party involvement from EHRs or companies like Athena Health to make sure that we're getting all the valuable data into Adonis. So we lead very quickly with putting those workflows in motion to make sure that anything that is outside of our control is moving ahead quickly as possible. And then on our side, we'll understand the exact sort of visualizations and filters and data sets that the customer wants to understand and needs in order to achieve their specific desired impact. And we'll start catering the product on our end to meet those needs and expectations. And during that time, again, I'm developing a relationship with the customer to better understand some of the pain points and use cases that they've communicated to Sean and his team over the course of the partnership. So by the time that the product is fully developed and deployed, we're working towards achieving those goals.
That's a great overview. The implementation process is so important, and it's so important that it happens seamlessly. But to your point, the needs of every provider group of folks in different specialties, they all vary. So it's incredibly important that the product matches the needs of our customers. And that's exactly what our customer success team leads with, which is a really great hands-on approach. But Connor, I'm curious from your perspective, how does that translate into an ongoing relationship with our customers? We always talk about the need of not just deploying software, but also consultative services to make sure we're fixing root cause issues in partnership with them. Curious our philosophy to that.
Yeah, so after we have that technical conversation, the second conversation we typically have is around the desired impact that, as I said, has often been alluded to or discussed in some capacity with Sean and his team, but we really want to dig into that and understand, okay, you have this larger overarching goal. What are the specific workflows that lead into achieving that goal, and how can the customer success team here at Adonis understand that as deeply as possible out of the gate? And the reason we develop that understanding is those are typically longer term goals. Something like, driving up collections and decreasing denials over a longer time horizon is something that's going to be an ongoing problem, not something that is just fixed day one of having the product in hand. So while we are onboarding them, getting an understanding of that so that my team and myself can anchor our work back to those overarching goals throughout the course of the partnership, and make sure that week in and week out when we're working with the customer, we're always circling back to what's the main problem that you're trying to solve with Adonis Intelligence, and make sure that we're consistently making progress towards that and having an impact on that, as opposed to inevitably getting lost in the kind of chaos of week to week discussions about billing and RCM functions, which can inevitably get complicated and have a lot of moving pieces. A key philosophy of our support from the customer success team is that we want to always have a very clear line of sight to that larger goal and make sure that we're tying our conversations back to that week in and week out.
It's really a full life cycle approach, as you said. Sean is identifying the pain point in partnership with customers, and then you all are quickly onboarding and playing that role, and very important role of making sure the value is delivered in partnership with the software on an ongoing basis. The human touch is something that's often overlooked, especially in the healthcare space when it comes to EHRs or practice management platforms, which is quite frankly a fault of itself. But Connor, would love to hear a bit more tactically, perhaps a real life example of a customer success story that we had through deployment of our software.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you both have mentioned, one of the key use cases for Adonis Intelligence and how it differs from other intelligence tools is its alerting functionality. So one of our large customers on Athena Health, one of their primary use cases is having Adonis Intelligence alert them of issues with their billing workflow or billing in general, well in advance of those issues having an impact on their books. So an example of a time that has worked effectively is this provider a couple months ago is submitting claims electronically to a certain payer. That payer was not receiving and processing those claims as they typically would. There was an issue just on the front end from the payer side that was leading to these claims just kind of getting sent over, but not getting worked on in the way that they typically would. Adonis Intelligence identified this issue and alerted our customer that this was happening, which led to the customer immediately stopping submission of claims to that payer. And they're a large customer, so it's a large volume of claims that would be going out the door every single day. And they reached out to the payer, started a discussion with them about what the issue was on the payer side. The payer was able to communicate the issue, give them a timeline for remediation, and resolve the issue, all while our customer and the provider held off on submitting subsequent claims until that issue was resolved, at which point they started resubmitting. So a good example of Adonis Intelligence bringing something to their attention that in a world without them having Adonis Intelligence may have taken them a week, 2 weeks to identify. Basically, when they saw that revenue is not hitting their book at the rate that they would expect it to, and that those claims weren't paying out or being followed up on, Adonis Intelligence is able to alert them of that immediately. They're able to hold off and not have to deal with the inevitable headache of dealing with that after 2 weeks of large volumes of claims were submitted.
That's a great story. I love hearing that because it's ultimately about the action that's driven, to your point. The identification is incredibly important and often overlooked, but having the software that Adonis deploys follow through into the action is incredibly important. Similarly, we hear so many stories around denials where a certain payer is denying an ICD CPT code pair at a rate that's way higher than before. They now require a modifier on it. And these are one of these overlooked issues that, to your point, causes large upticks in AR and ultimately leads to decreases in cash flow for what are ultimately our cost conscious providers.
Yeah, and in the example I shared, that's obviously like a one-off occurrence where there's an issue on the payer side, it was resolved. Our client was able to resubmit and move forward. But in the example you're talking about with CPT codes requiring modifiers, and there's a rule change that Adonis Intelligence is alerting our customers of, that obviously has outsized like downstream impact because the same customer is able to become aware of that modifier need, add that to their automation workflows and claim submission workflow. So it's not just the set of claims that they submit and dealt with denials on, but the subsequent, hundreds of thousands of claims that they're submitting with the same CPT codes that they are correctly submitting and getting paid out on, rather than having to deal with denials and follow up and resubmission on.
Well said. Before we wrap here, Connor, can you just give a brief overview of the users who are logging in and actioning on Adonis Intelligence, whether it's the C-suite or VP of RCM or billing managers, and just how they're each using the product?
Yeah, it varies from customer to customer depending on their specific use case, but typically you see a healthy mix of a C-suite that is using it in a particular way, often for more of the intelligence functionality of just trying to understand like what's going on in the business, getting a pulse in the daily dashboard of how many claims are going out the door, how many are getting denied, what do our payments look like, and just really get a pulse check on the business and be able to quickly see, are there any noteworthy variances in any of the key metrics, and then digging into a level that is appropriate for their needs in any given moment. So that's the C-suite use case, often varying. Some are more hands-on than others, but then we have typically a healthy mix of end users on their team that are focused on more specific workflows. So often we have teams where it's a mix of people that are focused on payments specifically, and they're using certain tools that we have to really dig into what do payments look like, what are issues that we're seeing, are there noteworthy variances from payer to payer that they can then dig into with Adonis Intelligence. Other people on the team might be focused just on denials, so we're really working with them to understand what are the insufficiencies of their current tools as it relates to their denial workflows, and how can Adonis Intelligence fit in and fill in for those insufficiencies. Or something like credentialing, someone focused on just like we're as Sean mentioned, like bringing on new facilities that have new providers that might require new credentialing done for those providers, and wanting to stay abreast of like, is there an uptick in credentialing related denials or kickback codes in Athena for providers who are at those facilities that are submitting claims, and using it as kind of a notification tool in that regard to then reach out to facilities. So definitely a mix of like higher level intelligence use cases and then very specific ad hoc like workflow solutions.
Yeah, it's hitting at a great point that the jobs to be done in revenue cycle are so varied. And so it really stresses the importance of having actionable insight that is specific to those jobs, whether, as you said, it's credentialing, payments, EDI enrollments, denials. There's so many jobs to be done. And so each of those individuals needs actionable intelligence to be able to best do their job.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Connor and Sean. It's been a fantastic conversation. Sean, hearing from you about how our enterprise customers are feeling real pain when it comes to identifying issues and identifying them timely. And Connor, the real life use case about how provider groups that we work with are actually uncovering issues that are leading to dollars saved. hearing both those perspectives is really fantastic, because ultimately at the end of the day, there's a void in actionable intelligence, and that's really our goal, is to solve that pain point and increase return on investment for our customers. But that's about all the time we have for today. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll be following up with a recording of this session shortly hereafter. And if you have any questions that we didn't have time to answer, please be sure to insert those here as well, and we'll follow up post the conversation. If you're interested in learning more about Adonis Intelligence, please visit our website at adonis.io or email us at sales@adonis.io. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.